Hello everybody, Assassinator back with another Halo Infinite informative video, this time talking about Forge. So we're not too far away from Forge actually releasing in beta form, but it's still a release that we can all play with and enjoy. So the official release date for it will be November 8th, 2022, alongside the winter update, also known as Season 2.5. So in this video, I'm going to be covering a lot about what 343 has already talked about, but I want to make sure to break it down into a smaller chunk so you don't have to watch, an hour and a half or so of footage to actually figure out what you're going to be able to do with this game. So I'm going to go ahead and start off with building. So the items that we can build our maps with are basically campaign assets. So if you've seen the item in campaign, most likely you can build with it. It has also been alluded to that more items will be added in the future. I would say probably every season, but that's just my guess. They didn't actually say that. Now, some of the new Forge features will be the following: an undo and redo button, very useful. Then there's duplication, which will save all of us a lot of time. If you've ever worked in Forge, or I guess even building anything anywhere, duplicating things are so much faster. Another thing that's different in this Forge is that you're going to be able to scale in any direction. So you can even take a full 3D object and flatten it down so you can use it as like a poster. When in build mode, you can fly through objects. Even if it's a solid wall in game, you can fly through it when you're in that build mode. This will be a big help when you're working on those interiors of buildings, so you don't have to go out of the building to actually check around. You just go right through that wall. Again, that might not be a big deal to you, but if you worked with previous Forges, then you would know this is a big deal. Another cool feature will be that you're able to custom name your objects to make it easier for when you search for them. So if you're actually looking for a certain wall, you want to find, wall interior of plaza, you'll be able to actually name it wall interior plaza instead of wall 1, wall 2, wall 3, wall 4, and so on. Now, when it comes to creating terrain, no matter how large or how small it is, it will all count as one object. So when you go to lay that plate down, obviously, if you want to add more mountains, more terrain like that, each one of those plates that you lay down will end up being considered one object. So you can make that massive mountain, or you could make that small ditch. Now there's materials. You can change the color and texture of almost anything to make it fit in the world that you want to create. So if you want that, I don't know, cyberpunk inspired neon glow, you can get that. If you want that, I don't know, the Minecraft Halo Infinite campaign, octagon Legos, you can go ahead and do that too. In the object browser, you can now preview the item before placing the object. Another thing that to me kind of goes along with duplication is prefab items that can be saved and used on your map, could be used on multiple of your maps, or you could even save it and let other people use it on their maps. I feel this feature is really going to help a lot of people who I would say aren't as creative. Then there's the object detail panel. It appears on screen whenever you hover over an item. It gives you info like, is it static or dynamic? And when I say static, it means something that stays in its place and doesn't move, like a wall. And dynamic is more of a movable object, something, let's say, like a ball. It will also give other info like location, size, and rotation. And one of the biggest things is the number of objects allowed in a map. So in Halo 5, Forgers were allowed roughly 1,600 objects in their map. While in Halo Infinite, it has been increased to roughly 7,000 objects. That's more than 4 times the amount. And from what I've been seeing from some of these, Forgers that already have access to Halo Infinite's Forge, man, they're making some beautiful things out there. I already feel like I'm far behind because they've been using this thing for months. So next up is scripting. So scripting is the logic that runs the game. Instead of developing in, let's say, Java, C++, C Prime, or any of those other languages, we'll be using nodes on a node graph. I consider this more visual scripting. This type of programming is a lot easier for people, trust me. I've used these node graphs in Unreal Engine 4 a lot easier than using C++. Now, one of the things that 343 brought up was that you can take any weapon and change it to basically shoot any projectile. And it's very simple, very easy with only taking a couple nodes and running the string between them. So now a needler can actually shoot as fast as a needler, but it's shooting out rockets. This will make for some crazy game modes. And speaking of game modes, scripting will be the way you make the rules for the custom game modes. And one of the other big features is AI and bots. The bots are already pre-programmed with the main information, so you don't really have to do anything to let them know what they're supposed to do. They already know what weapons are, they know how to pick up the weapons, use the accessories, they know the objectives. So the only thing that you might have to do is place nav meshes, and nav meshes are basically navigation meshes, which let the bots know where they can go. And this is usually auto-generated, but sometimes there are areas that are missed, so you can place the mesh down, letting the bot know they can actually access that area. But at the same time, if there's an area you don't want the bots to go, you can go ahead and lay a different mesh down that basically says, no, you cannot come here. So just with the addition of bots being in Forge, this will help all of us test out our maps without having to try to put together 7 other players to actually test it out. I mean, obviously you're going to want feedback from real life players, but that can come after you've done the bot testing to kind of, I guess, just dial it in just a little bit more before bringing in real people. Then we have the lighting system. A whole new lighting system has been put in Forge, way different than any other previous game's Forge. You can now change the color of the sun, change the color of the sky along with its intensity, increase it if you want the color to really pop, things like that. You can change the sun's position, which basically means you can change the time of day. They've included volumetric fog, which you can add to your levels if you want to make them just a little bit more eerie, especially for like an infection type map. Now the way the shadows are done is completely different again than any other Forge. You can now choose if spotlights cast shadows or not. I would think we would always want to cast shadows since that makes the environment more believable, but I'm sure that there's reasons that they keep it from, you are able to turn it off. I'm just not thinking about them yet. Now in Halo 5, you had to bake the lighting in order to see it. Here, it auto updates, which is again another time saver. And in this one, characters will no longer light up in the dark areas like they did in Halo 5. So anyone who saw, I guess, the color would just be more of an emitter color, you won't have to deal with that anymore, so you can actually make that stealth gameplay that you want. There'll be customizable effects, so all effects can have their color changed. So if you want a pink fire, you can change it from the natural looking orange to the pink. Then you'll get the emitting color that matches that. Now some effects do have multiple emitters, and you can change the color of each and every one of those emitters to be a unique color so that your effect looks really unique. Now there'll be a way for you to check for light overlap and shadow overlap, which will help control performance. Lighting in this game is expensive like any other game, but with this debug option, you'll kind of get like a heat map that shows you where everything overlaps so you can kind of adjust it and make it optimal. Now this would be the only reason that I would see that they would allow you to turn off the shadows and why you would want to turn off the shadows in some areas if that lighting is overlapping. Then there's reflection volumes. Metal objects don't usually take in diffuse lighting, but they do take in specular. So the reflection volumes are basically chrome balls that take in, like, let's say a 360-degree picture of the surroundings and project it onto the surfaces nearby, especially metal textures, which will help with the reflections on them, kind of like they would in real life. They've included light cones, which will add depth to the atmosphere. To put that into more simpler terms, the lighting in this Forge is going to be epic. Now we're on to the audio and sound. You can now turn off audio, so you can turn off ambient sounds, primary sounds, secondary sounds. You can turn on or turn off what you want. You can kind of adjust those also. Now Forge will come loaded with different ambient sounds like, let's say, raindrops, a busy city, distant city, generator room, battlefields, underwater, and many more that will make your experience what you want. You can even change the reverb in the environment. Now reverb, for those of you who don't know what it is, it's basically the echo of sound. You can increase it, you can decrease it. Again, this is something that's going to make your maps seem more believable. Now the audio effects can be on or off while you're in preview mode. Obviously, if you have them on when you're in the match, when you're in game, they're going to be on. But if you want to turn them off so you can actually hear more of your surroundings when you're actually, I guess, previewing the mode, previewing the game, working on the level, you can go ahead and do that so it's not really distracting you. After you are done setting up all the audio, you can build it in engine and it will make the sounds even more accurate. So let's say there's a sound on the opposite side of the wall that you're on. It's going to seem quieter, just like it would in real life. And the last part of audio is scripting audio. So you can basically program sounds to start and stop based off of events. And with already knowing this, I'm kind of already building a map in my head and kind of thinking about how I'm going to use these sounds to kind of play with people. Now we got canvases, and in the beta or the launch version, which we get in early November, there'll be 6 canvases. The first will be Arid, which is a desert on a halo ring. The next will be Ecliptic, which is outer space with planets in the skybox. The third will be Institute, which has a northwest setting. Then there's Mears, which has a marsh wetland setting. Seafloor, which you can probably guess you're on the seafloor. And then Void, which is basically just a blank canvas with just a skybox around it. From what 343 said, I guess that's what a lot of people want. They just want that void. Now there will be more canvases added in the future, and I'm hearing one called Glacier will come with Season 3. That'll be the one that gives you more of a snowy setting, which I hear is what a lot of people have been asking for. Now the canvases are going to be 2 times the size of Halo 5's canvases, at 400 by 400 by 150, which basically translates to 4,000 feet by 4,000 feet with a height of 1,500 feet. Now all canvases will start with the core fundamentals like spawn points and the minimum that you need in order to get started with the match. So if you don't even want to add anything to the game, you can go ahead and kind of start a match in it, and everything is there. Obviously you can go ahead and take that all out and start from scratch if you want, but a majority of people would like to at least have that. It will kind of make the iterating on these maps a little quicker. Another brand new and key feature that I'm gonna like a lot is collaborating, also known as CoForge. So there'll be an admin who will be the person who basically started the creation of the map, and then there will be editors who can view assets, save a copy, edit assets, edit metadata. But for those of you who trust somebody else, you can make them co-owners. So they'll basically have the ability to do everything that you can except for become an admin. So when you're co-forging, anyone can edit and it'll be real time in everyone's builds. You can even test out geometry without taking everyone out of creating. And what 343 considers testing is when you're basically spawn in at your current location to run around the map and kind of check out the flow. It's not actually you in-game actually testing out to play a match. It's just kind of one of those, you can move around, you can see if there's gaps, maybe is there a ledge you want to be able to jump up to, you can see if it's high enough or low enough, but you cannot play the map. Now when you want to play the map, you have to bring everyone in with you. Now one of the other things is, when you're editing, only one person can select a particular object at a time, meaning not 2 people could go ahead and grab that object. I can grab wall number 1, you can grab wall number 2, but we both can't grab wall number 1. Basically, whoever grabs wall number 1 first can go ahead and move it around. As soon as they let go, the other person can go ahead and grab it and move it around wherever they want also. I can see this collaborating thing being pretty big. Then there's version history, which basically keeps every one of your saves. You can now go back to older iterations of a map if, let's say, somebody else made a change that you didn't really like and you wanted to go back to the previous one you were working on, you can actually go back and do that. You also have the ability to add notes to what was changed for your saves so that anyone can go back and look at it. Now this is industry standard when it comes down to game development. Basically everyone does this type of thing in order to leave notes for the next person who's going to actually work on it. Now if a version isn't accessed for 30 days, it will be auto-deleted. But it won't delete your final save, your last save that you did. No matter how long you're away from it, it won't auto-delete that. There's also cloning of maps, but it won't bring forward your version history. Now I could see cloning being used a lot when, let's say, you make a great map, but then now you want to go ahead and turn it into a infected map. Now the infected map will have different flow than, let's say, a Slayer map. So let's say you're going to place objects in different areas. You don't want to affect the first map, you just duplicate it and now work on that one. You can go ahead and delete things that you don't want anymore, you can add things that you want. Or at least that's what I see myself doing. Now when it comes down to publishing, you can copy, protect your files if you don't want anyone else to clone your creation. You can also choose to allow it to be cloned, but your name will still be in the credits. Now credits is a big thing. Credits are permanent. It will list everyone who worked on that map. Now that's great to know. So I want to let everyone know right now, in this video, I'm willing to help anyone work on their maps. And the reason why is because I want my name to appear everywhere. They will have the community tab, which will have popular maps, which is the most played in the last 7 days, popular prefabs, the most bookmarked in the last 7 days, and popular modes, again, the most played in 7 days. You'll even be able to browse by just everything or by keywords or tags, which will help you narrow down your search. Now, those of you wanting to know about a custom game browser, that'll be coming in Season 3. So that is all the info that I have on Forge right now. Hopefully this breakdown got you caught up on what to expect when it launches in a little over a week. I'm excited for this. I hope you are too. Now, if you like this video and you want more content like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button, even give it a like, because this is the type of content that I do. But until next time, Assassinator out.